Good afternoon, all. I, on behalf of my council, ICSI, welcome you all for this Master Knowledge Series, Evaluate, Enable, and Excel EEE 4.0. Today, we have the second session. We started this series on 1st of May 2024 on the Labor Day. And labor laws, the session on labor laws was held on 1st of May. Today, we have the esteemed faculty CS Ranjit Pandeji, the former president of ICSI, to take us through the nuances of secretarial audit. And with his rich experience, I'm sure all the people who are present today would be immensely benefited. And the intention of this EEE series is to make everybody aware about the changing corporate scenarios, the various case studies, the importance. The concepts are already known to us from the applicability of the secretarial audit. But every time we approach the secretarial audit, we know that we have to look into some or other aspects which are different from the earlier years. And each year is a new approach which we have to, I would say, adopt to complete the secretarial audit report and various other things. So it is my immense pleasure to have Ranjit Pandeji. I would take this opportunity to introduce the esteemed faculty today. CS Ranjit Pandeji is a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and a law graduate from University of Delhi. CS Ranjit Pandeji is a practicing company secretary having over 21 years of experience in the field of corporate and commercial laws. He is also a registered insolvency professional. He is a prominent advisor in the areas of corporate governance, compliances, management, due diligence, corporate restructuring, insolvency, and bankruptcy. CS Ranjit Pandeji served as the president of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India for the year 2019. During his 16 years services as an elected representative of ICSI, he made notable contributions while chairing Corporate Law and Governance Committee, Academics Committee of the ICSI, including expanding the National ICSI National Awards for Excellence in Corporate Governance to the newer heights. And he has also a key person on rolling out the ICSI New Syllabus 2022, which aligned with the new education policy of the government. Presently, he chairs the ESG and Sustainability Board of ICSI and also Advisory Committee of the professional members of ICSI Institute of Insolvency Professionals. He is also part of ICSI Institute of Social Auditors and Disciplinary Committee of ICSI IIP. Given his rich knowledge and experience in the corporate governance, capital and finance market, and his made the part of the and also contributed to various, let's say, primary market advisory committee of SEBI as an ex officio member, high level committee on corporate social responsibility of Government of India, insolvency law committee of Government of India, working group of MCA for finalizing BRSR framework for reporting of listed companies. CS Ranjit Pandeji has been called upon for conducting training programs on the topics board governance, related party transactions, board familiarization programs, capital building for IDs, and senior management of leading corporates and government organizations, which includes Power Grid, Rights Limited, DS Group, IPRCL, Scope, Department of Public Enterprises of Government of India. As a committed governance professional, which we all know, CS Ranjit Pandeji has always promoted system building, thereby promoting good corporate governance practices. During his tenure as the president ICSI, the institute launched initiatives for strengthening self-governance of the just like UDIL, ECSIL, and ICSI auditing standards also. He is a firm believer of the continuous training and skill development. And CS Ranjit Pandeji is a regular speaker, panelist at various national and international academics, including the industry forum. So I welcome you, sir, for this today's session, and would request you to please enlighten us with your knowledge, your experience, and share it with for the all the members and the delegates who are present today. I'm sure this session will be a great session. I'm looking forward to it. Over to you, sir. Sir, you are on mute.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you so much for such a nice introduction. This topic, secretarial audit, is close to heart of every company secretary. I will not say that it is, say, my favorite, but yes, it is favorite of every company secretary who is practicing, whether practicing or in employment. Because I always say that secretarial audit is not for the only practicing side of the profession. It is equally important for the employment side of the profession also. Why? Because they are supposed to do the compliances throughout the year. And we as a secretarial auditor are required to go from time to time on concurrent basis, or maybe quarterly or half yearly basis, or sometimes, of course, some companies prefer on annual basis to verify the compliances and report on the status of compliances, compliance process, structure, and uh, overall corporate governance framework and overall corporate governance status of the company. So that if I'll say that what is the objective of secretarial audit, that is the first question which should come in the mind of every company secretary, that why this secretarial audit has been introduced and why secretarial audit is required to be done. And this objective is very, very important, because what we feel that this is just a tick box exercise, this is just a MR3 format. That what is there in the MR3 format? It is only 2-page format and just a certificate, just a report. So all these kind of, say, misnomer or this kind of, say, हिंदी में अगर बोलूं, भ्रांतियां दूर करने की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है, because it's been now 2014, now 2024, 10 years. We need to introspect that whether we are able to give value addition to the, say, cause of corporate governance or not, whether we are able to achieve the objective and intent of the secretarial audit or not. So these two things we should always keep in mind, that this particular audit has been given to the company secretaries after, of course, long struggle by past leaders and institute as a whole for almost 20 years. Then only we are able to get it. So it's a long struggle, and it's long struggle. That's why I'm saying that we should value it, we should preserve it, and we should be able to create the value to the corporates. With this background, let me take you through the what main objective of the secretarial audit. Friends, I have always divided the objectives into 5 parts. Main objective is to authenticate or verify the due compliances of non-financial transaction. So as financial transaction is audit, this requirement of the statutory audit or audit done by the financial auditor. Similarly, non-financial transactions are required to be audited or authenticated or verified by the secretarial auditor. Second, safeguarding the interest of all the stakeholders who are looking for the company secretaries, that they are one of the, say, conscious keeper of the company, and they will definitely safeguard our interest. Thirdly, for the company and management, timely detection of the non-compliances and fraud, so that they should be able to know it, they should be able to report it. But friends, this can be done only if it will be a concurrent or quarterly audit, because year end it will become the post-mortem. It will not be, say, timely detection of the non-compliances or fraud by against the company or non-compliances by the company. Then improving monitoring and process system and compliance culture of the company. So it is not always that we should find out the mistakes and we should find out the, say, non-compliances or report on the compliances. One of the objective is to improve the process system and compliance culture in the company. And by doing all these 4 things, lastly, I will say ensure the effective corporate governance in the company. So these are the broad objective. And whenever we are thinking of secretarial audit, be it employee company secretary, be it management of the company, be it practicing company secretary, we should always keep in mind all these objectives. And after considering this objective, each and every step and every point of the secretarial audit should be considered. So this is what the opening remarks from my side in regard to the purpose and objective of the secretarial audit, and how we should preserve and protect the secretarial audit so that it should be able to create value for the corporate and also for the company secretary and be governance professional. And of course, if we will create value, reputation of the institute will also be at high. Yes, Pawan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So, sir, I would take your permission, and instead of a regular presentation, I would love to ask few questions, and we can build upon that. If you
Yes, I think we have had a discussion that what will be the flow. It
Yes.
will start with the engagement and it will go. So
Yes.
accordingly, some of the slides I have prepared.
Yes,
So
sir.
whenever it is necessary, I will do the slide share if
Okay.
required only, and it will be appearing on the screen. Otherwise, it will be say question answer mode only, depending upon the topic and sequence.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. Sir, many times what happens is, let's say the secretarial auditor is getting engaged to give the secretarial audit report. So, according to you, what documents are required or should be asked at the time of audit engagement by secretarial auditor? Question one. And sub question to it is, in case if the documents, the required documents which secretarial auditor should ask for are not provided by the entity, should auditor withdraw from the audit assignments? Because many a times that is a dilemma before the secretarial auditor. So I wish to know in greater details what are your thoughts on that.
Yes, Pawan, this is very important and very say crucial fact that every auditor should be engaged first before starting the audit. So I think first and foremost point is which is required to be discussed is secretarial auditor's engagement. And when I talk about engagement always happen from the two sides. So it should be employment side also and the practice side also. They should know that what kind of documents which is required, what say documentation they should do, and whether say documents which is refused. Your second question, then if it is not provided, then whether I should go and get engaged or not. So first thing first, that auditor while getting engaged, I think I will share the screen for this. I have two slides on this. Let me share it. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah. So I will refer here CSAS 1. And CSAS 1 is basically secretarial auditing standard issued by ICSI in regard to the audit or certification conducted by the company secretary in practice. So it says it lays down the various terms for the audit engagement. First is that it should be, your appointment should be as per the applicable law. Here, applicable law is Companies Act, Section 204 of the Companies Act. So we should have the audit engagement according to that. Second one is confirmation regarding eligibility of the auditor. Whether I am eligible to become the auditor, whether I am holding certificate of practice, whether I am peer reviewed firm or not. Second point. Third point, whether I am having the sufficient number of limits available to conduct the secretarial audit or not. So these are the 2-3 points which is required to be confirmed by the secretarial auditor, and that is one of the most important thing which we should take in mind. Third one is obtaining audit engagement letter along with the resolution. So first is I am giving my consent to act as a secretarial auditor, and company is ensuring by analyzing that consent letter that whether I am eligible to become the secretarial auditor of his company or not. And I have told you the three requirements. One is that I have the valid certificate of practice. Second one is I am peer reviewed. And third one is I am having the sufficient number of limit available with me. Then they will issue the audit engagement letter. Audit engagement letter should always be backed by the board resolution passed by the board of directors. It is not like that it will be circular resolution. It is always board resolution. And then next of the points are different. I will take it up later on. I will go on the next slide. So I think offer acceptance. So offer letter is one thing. Then my acceptance to the proposal. Second is my consent letter. Third is board resolution and appointment letter. Fourth one is non-disclosure agreement. And then lastly, engagement letter. So these are the 5 documents which is required to be obtained by the respective party, whatever is required. Like offer will be given by the company. I will give the acceptance and consent letter. Then appointment of board resolution. Board resolution will be passed by the company and given to us. Then non-disclosure engagement and engagement letter. Non-disclosure agreement is typically company specific. It may be with the forming part of the engagement letter itself, or it may be a separate document altogether. So depending upon the company to company, it will be there. So your second part of the question was that if company refuses to give, what company will refuse to give, or what we will be refusing. Consent in any case we will have to give, and board resolution they will have to give. If there is no board resolution, your appointment is not there. So acceptance is not required, or acceptance is immaterial in that case. So these 2 documents, one is engagement letter and board resolution, is very important before taking up the assignment.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So what is the next question?
Sir, during this discussion, you mentioned about one conflict of interest. Sir, can a secretarial auditor or should a secretarial auditor accept audit engagement even if there is a conflict of interest? And what is that conflict of interest in regards to the secretarial auditor acceptance?
See, conflict of interest is one term which is very much clarified in the CSAS 1. And to be very specific, here it will be coming the what kind of conflict of interest is there. I will take you through the practical example. You are a retainer of the company. And you are being asked to become the secretarial auditor. That is situation number 1. Situation number 2, you are independent advisor of the company. You are giving corporate governance certificate. You are certifying the forms of and other documents of the company, but not preparing any document on the behalf of company. You are just certifying the documents, giving time to time independent consultancy. So this is situation number 2. Situation number 3, you have the pecuniary interest with the company, that you are holding shares in the company. You are having debt in the company. You have given the debt or taken loan from the company. So this is the third situation. Fourth situation is you are in the employment of the company, and last year you are employee, and this year you came out of the employment and taken the audit. So these are the 4 possible conflict I can foresee. There may be a number of other conflicts also, but 4 conflicts I can foresee. ICSI auditing standard says that small conflict or some kind of conflict is there that is acceptable, and that auditor can disclose it, and disclosure of interest when he is taking up the assignment or during the course of assignment some kind of interest comes, then he should disclose it. But it say bifurcate the substantial conflict of interest vis-a-vis conflict of interest. So substantial conflict of interest if auditor is having or proposed auditor is having, he should not accept the assignment. In my opinion, what could be the substantial conflict of interest? And in fact, some of the instances are given in the standard itself. One is 2% holding paid up share capital of the company, have nominal value of 2%, or 2% of the voting power. So this is ICSI considered as substantial conflict of interest. Second is indebtedness up to for an amount exceeding 5 lakh rupees. Third one is where auditor is in employment in the company and 2 years has not been elapsed. That means 31st March 24, if you have resigned, then 25 and 26 you cannot do audit. You will do audit for the 27. So this is what the monetary or pecuniary conflict of interest, which is defined in the rules, CSAs. However, another principle, I will say, principle of audit is also one of the important principle is conflict. Auditor should be impartial. When I talk about the impartiality, it means that a maker should not be checker. Maker should not be checker. That means if I am a retainer of the company, I am making and preparing the document, and at the year end, I am going and verifying also the document. This particular thing is, to my opinion, even bigger than the pecuniary conflict of interest. Because the moment you are maker of the document, if you will be checking and if you will be coming out with the some observation or qualification, then you are not going to report, because you have the major conflict. You will be losing your both the businesses. So that is why you are not going to report it. So maker checker should be avoided. So I have discussed with you 4 scenarios. First scenario was maker checker. That means retainer should not be the secretarial auditor. Second one is person who is certifying the forms or certifying some of the documents for the company. They should be allowed to become. Reason is that whatever I am certifying, that certification is also required by the independent practicing company secretary. And audit is also required by the independent company secretary. So if I am independent for those certification, then I am independent for the secretarial audit also. So they can become. Third and fourth is pecuniary, that I have already clarified. It is written in the CSAs that what is substantial conflict of interest, where secretarial auditor should not be appointed.
Correct. So it means you should not have the retainership contract with them. If you are certifying the forms, which is an independent professional services, in that case you can go and accept the audit assignment also. Yes, sir. This many a times become a issue, because what is retainership and what is certification of forms? Many times we get calls from our professional colleagues that अरे ऐसा है क्या करना चाहिए. So thank you, sir, for clearing all these doubts. So many a times, let's say the engagement letter which we were talking about at the first instance, that engagement letter is given to you, and that engagement letter at a later stage is revised. Many a times it is seen that the terms of the engagements are revised, and then how to proceed in case of any such revision, because you have accepted the engagement first, and then later on the engagement terms are changed. So how to handle this scenario?
See, clause 5.1 of the CSAs 1, if you'll refer. And why I am referring CSAs always, because it's a wonderful document prepared by the ICSI. I still remember when 2019 we have released, and Vineet Chaudhary ji, the council member, has done a lot of efforts, and entire team has done a lot of efforts in the CSAS and thereafter in the guidance note. So this document is not that popular. I will say that everybody is not following. Everybody knows. Company secretary is knowing that some kind of auditing standard is there. And whenever they are in difficulty, they follow it. But in order to improve the audit process, in order to improve the system and process and audit engagement, they don't refer this document. If they are in difficulty, if company comes and questions them, how can you do? Then in order to defend themselves, they refer this particular document and they say, yes, हमारे CSAS में लिखा हुआ है. So what I'm trying to say here is that this is wonderful and important document. It will ease your whole process, how to frame the opinion, how to enter into engagement, how to say conduct the audit, what should be the process, what should be the documentation, how to create audit evidences. All these things will be there forming part of this particular CSAS 1 to CSAS 4. Having said that, 5.1 is saying that unless there is a reasonable justification for doing so, the auditor shall not agree to change. That means it is in the negative phrasing that you should not agree normally, but if there is a reasonable justification for changing the say scope or term of audit engagement, then you can do it. But while doing so, you have to have the revised agreement or supplementary or redundant to the agreement, clearly define the term and condition, what difference which is going to create, whether it will reduce the audit scope, whether it will have the impact on the overall audit process. All these things has to be clarified in that addendum, or it will be for the improvement, not for the reduction. So whatever is the situation, that situation should be having the reasonable justification, and it should be spelled out clearly and giving in the addendum and supplementary or revised agreement engagement letter.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, you are referring to auditing standards of ICSI quite a few times, and it is very important. I have gone through that. But can you please show light or throw light on whether those auditing standards as issued by ICSI are mandatory?
Yes, it is mandatory for the company secretary. CSAS is mandatory for the audit engagement, audit, and audit, process and documentation. It is basically become mandatory in the year 2021. Earlier, it was made available on 2020, and all the audits after 1st April 2020. Later on, it has been revised and scope has been revised. First year, it has been made voluntarily applicable, and 1st April 2021, it has been made mandatory for everyone. So this is what the ICSI has issued the circular 2 times. First time making it voluntarily to be adopted by the company secretary, and secondly to be made mandatory.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, before we go to the scope, which is very important thing to from the perspective of the employee company secretary also and the practicing company secretary also, I have received few questions from the audience, and it is related to the initial discussion which we are having. One of the is can secretarial auditor be appointed for a term of 3 years, means more than a term of 1 year at one go?
As of now, my answer is no. Okay. Because there is no such term which has been provided for the secretarial auditor like chartered accountant. Chartered accountants, from the statute, it is coming that they should be appointed for the 5 years. But here, secretarial auditor are being appointed through the board resolution for the period of 1 year, 1 financial year. But having said so, I have not seen any restriction also in the law that why can't company appoint in a go for 3 years? Say, for example, particularly this problem may come in the public sector and enterprises where they need to go and float the tendering process. So instead of floating the tender for 1 year, they may be floating the tender for 3 years at a time, at once. And after, say, floating that tender, they are taking the board approval for 3 financial year in one go. That first financial, second financial year, and 3 financial year. So this is very much possible, but as of now, practice is for the appointment of 1 year only. Some companies might have done it because there is no legal restriction as such for appointment of 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years.
Thank you, sir. One more question as regards the appointment process is concerned. Can the secretarial auditor be appointed after the closure of financial year? Or means when is the good time to or apt time wherein the secretarial auditor be appointed?
Very nice question, I must say. And in fact, this is one of the debatable issue always, that whether secretarial auditor should be appointed at the beginning of the year. That means if I am going to do the audit for the first April 2023 to 31st March 2023. So whether I should be appointed in the first board meeting of 2023 or I should be appointed in the first board meeting of 2024 and conduct the audit for 23-24. My opinion is always, and in fact, Institute is always also promoting that audit should always be on the concurrent basis. And why it should be concurrent basis? Because we should not be always going for the post-mortem of the activities. We should be readily verifying all the information, documents, compliance status on a quarterly basis or concurrent basis or at least half-yearly basis. And it is possible only when you are being appointed at the beginning of the year. And there are many benefits of it. One benefit is, of course, timely detection of non-compliances and fraud. Second is time to time guidance from the secretarial auditor can be taken by the company. That we always see that particular transaction we are going to do having the very major impact in the company. So why not consult the secretarial auditor also to take their opinion? So that is also one of the point or one of the benefit corporate may derive.
Sir, a few more questions. I am really getting interesting questions and also the compliment that this is a unique webinar which is being hosted by ICSI, wherein PPT is not presented, but the question and answer kind of things is happening. So I am also receiving various messages because I am checking all those questions from ICSI department because I am getting those questions from them. One of the question is, can a company appoint more than one secretarial auditor? Means, let's say the joint secretarial auditor.
There is no restriction in the law. I think secretarial auditor company shall appoint a secretarial auditor to secretarial auditor for bigger company. This is what the heading of the section is, and secretarial auditor is being appointed. But mandate is for appointment of one secretarial auditor. If company want to have the different secretarial auditor and two opinions on the audit, then there is no harm and there is no restriction as such for appointment of second person or second firm as a secretarial auditor.
So in that case, both the secretarial audit report shall be filed.
Both the reports will be forming part of the board report. And it should be forming part of the annual report and presented to the shareholders for the approval along with the accounts and boards reports.
Sir, few questions I would request. I have read those questions, which are either related to, let's say, the wife is in employment of the same company with the husband who is also a company secretary, is into practice. Can such be appointed? Few questions are related to whether peer review is compulsory. Few questions are related to
See,
what is the
first question,
clearing point.
I think conflict of interest point. See, there is no legal prohibition, and I have already dealt it with in great detail. Today, even retailers are becoming secretarial auditor, to be very honest and to be very frank. But it's been 10 years now. At the beginning, we might have done so many things, but I think time has come that we should make ourselves more and more independent. Conflict should be avoided. And if there is a substantial conflict, you need to judge that whether it will amount to substantial conflict or not. Beginning years were different. Now we have the experience of 10 years. Even company secretary firms are now established, and they have a lot of, say, bouquet of services to offer to the corporates. So I would prefer, and I would say that it will be amounting or tantamounting to the conflict of interest. We should not be venturing into that. What was the second question?
Sir, few questions are related to whether the peer review is compulsory.
Yes, peer review is now mandatory. Peer review is now mandatory. Only peer-reviewed firm can do the secretarial audit. And to tell you very frankly, peer review is not, say, such a thing which is going to create trouble for you. Peer is your own peer. They will be coming and guiding you. They will be coming and doing it. And institute is very fast in getting it done. So I don't think that it will become the hindrance for even a young company secretary to get their firm or themselves peer reviewed before starting of the audit.
Point of intimation. When you are getting the inquiry or when you are getting appointed, let's say the resolution, what should be the timing of intimation to the earlier incumbent as per the code of conduct of ICSI?
Pawan, there was some of the points which I have left in the previous this thing. Yeah. Communication to the previous incumbent. Clause 8 of the schedule is talking about this, that you need to communicate to the previous incumbent. So there are three stages where possibility of communication may arise. One is whether at the time of sending my proposal or consent. Two, at the time of, say, communication by the company that you have been appointed or passing of the board resolution. Or third is properly getting engaged and taking up the assignment. Answer to this question is third one. At the time of giving consent, I am not very clear that whether I will be appointed or somebody else will be appointed. So there is no question of communication. Second one is company has passed the board resolution, but company has communicated also. But I have not taken up the assignment as of now because I have not been having the engagement letter. Once I have been engaged properly through the engagement letter and I want to take up the assignment, then 15 days is the timeline which has been provided from before the taking of the assignment. So if you feel that I need to take up the assignment, this is the language which has been used, taking up the assignment. So if you want to take up the assignment, I think 15 days time is there. And within 15 days, you at third stage, you should intimate your previous incumbent. And this is one of the very important point. And in fact, I will say that this should be used properly. He is my colleague, he is my peer. Why can't we have the, say, healthy communication and debate and discussion with the previous incumbent? Instead of only sending the mail, let's have the one phone call and discussion that what you have, say, you have done the audit and what you have faced, what is the kind of company. He may give you input to start with for the second year. it may be possible that management is, say, willing to change the auditor. So today it is me, tomorrow it may be you. So there is no hard feeling for that particular thing. It is choice of the company to have the auditor. And if auditor are being removed because they were qualifying the report or because they are very harsh, then you will get to know from the previous incumbent that what was the cause of removal and what was the cause of resignation. And that will definitely going to help you in the longer run for conducting the audit.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I would now request you to please go dig deep basically into the concept of secretarial audit, considering the scope and various other things.
Yes, Pawan. I think next 15 minutes, let's concentrate on the scope of the secretarial audit, because this is one important aspect which we should have, say that we should know that I'm going to conduct the secretarial audit. Then what should be my scope? What should be my coverage? What should be my extent? And which area I should be concentrating more? Which area we should just be going on the, say, processes and only on the system, or maybe internal control and whatever, so on and so forth. So let me take you through very 2-3 slides on this particular part, wherein I have detailed the scope of the secretarial audit. What should be the scope of secretarial audit is visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Scope of secretarial audit.
So I will again refer CSAS 4, and CSAS 4 is specifically or exclusively for the secretarial audit. So first is, of course, audit engagement. Second is auditing standard process and documentation. And fourth one is, third one is forming of opinion. And fourth one is secretarial audit. Also standard for the secretarial audit. So when I'm talking about standard for the secretarial audit, these are the bullets which are very, very relevant. One is identification and segregation of applicable law. Here, one question comes always, that who will identify and segregate the applicable law? Of course, this is one of the responsibility of the practicing company secretary also, that they will segregate the various law applicable into what? Segregation, but segregation into what? Segregation into 5 major laws, regulations in case of listed companies, then specifically applicable law and generally applicable general laws. So this segregation is required to be done, and identification of all applicable laws to the company. There is a debate always that who is responsible for identification of the applicable law to the company, and company thinks that it is secretarial auditor who is responsible. Secretarial auditors feels that it is the responsibility of the company. But law is different. Law says company secretary of the company and company should ensure. Compliance किसको करना है? Compliance is the requirement of the company. If company is not doing the compliance, or company has not identified the compliance areas or say applicable laws, then how they are doing the compliance? And section 205 read with section 134 subsection 5, director's responsibility. If you will read these section together, 205 says reporting the compliance of all applicable law by the company secretary to the board. This is what the first clause is, that compliances of all applicable law means whatever is applicable to your company, you need to report it to the board. And when you come to 134 subsection 5, it says that board should ensure effective compliance in regard to all applicable laws to the company, system and process in regard to compliance, and it is effective and functioning. This kind of language is there in 134 board report ka director responsibility statement. So that is there. Having said so, it is not the sole responsibility if you have engaged the company secretary in practice for the audit in the beginning of the year. And another benefit, if you have engaged the secretarial auditor at the beginning of year, company secretary in practice and company secretary in employment will join hand together and they can identify and segregate the applicable law together. This will help the company secretary in employment at the beginning of the year that these are the identified law. So at the end of the year, company secretary in practice will not come and say that ये भी law आपके ऊपर applicable था, you have not complied that. So win-win situation for both, that you have identified at the beginning and at the end you are going to do the audit. So you are getting the complete compliance report and complete coverage. So this is first bullet. Second bullet is identification of the events and corporate action. This is one of the most important part for the secretarial audit. In fact, when we were trainees and we were going for the secretarial audit, we were making some kind of spreadsheet on the Excel or maybe scale से बना के और A4 sheet पे लिख के लेके जाते थे. And these things were very, very important because first column was always that what were the corporate event and actions and say corporate action has been taken by the company. And we write those things in the first column. And after writing, our company secretary mind and brain start functioning that if say issue of capital has been done by the company, then what could be the compliance requirement? And then we used to write in the next column that first of all, I will check the article and memorandum of association in regard to authorized capital clause. Then thereafter, I will check the enabling provision in regard to in the shareholders, whether they have the right to issue that much of capital or not. Then I will go to the say board meeting and pass the resolution. Then, so these are the say legal requirement to comply. Thereafter, some return is required to file. So earlier form 2 and now pass 3, which is required to file. Pass 4 is required to prepare. Pass 5 is required to be prepared. So these are the compliance requirement. And the moment you will keep analyzing this, then you will come to know that stamp duty is also required to be paid. Then you will come to know that since foreign shareholders are there, the FEMA requirement is also required to be complied. So one corporate action has given you at least 10 compliance requirement. And in that spreadsheet, we used to prepare 7-8 columns. Any form is required to file. Any return is required to prepare. Any statutory due is required to pay. Any stamp duty is required to pay. Any board meeting approval. Any shareholders meeting approval. Any third party approval. RBI approval. Or any register or record to be maintained. So the moment you identify one corporate action, you will be able to spell out the whole compliance requirement. So identification of the event on corporate action is very important in regard to the scope and coverage of the secretarial audit. Second, third one is you need to verify the compliance. Fourth, you need to verify the board composition. Fifth, verification of the board processes. Sixth, verification of system and process of compliance. Board process and system and process of compliance I will discuss in great detail later on. So I'm just highlighting the scope here. Detection and reporting of the fraud and reporting of event and action having major bearing on the affairs of the company. This is the last paragraph which is given in the MR3. It says that any event and action which has the major bearing on the affairs of the company, that has to be reported in the separate paragraph. So if company has disposed of some undertaking, if company has undergone merger or amalgamation or demerger, if company has borrowed huge amount of money, if company has invested some huge amount of money, all these things are required to be reported. As far as MR3 is concerned, this is the scope, and in fact, Institute has written a letter in the year 2014-15 stating that what could be the Institute perspective in regard to scope. So these are the 5 laws which we are required to do the thorough verification. then SEBI regulations, then FEMA, and in FEMA, you can say FDI, ODI, and ECB only, nothing more than that. So ECB, ODI, and FDI. So other part of the FEMA or FDI policy, FDI policy, of course, ODI and ECB regulations are required to be verified. Otherwise, nothing further is required to be verified. Then moving forward, reporting of compliance of other law as may be specifically applicable to the company. This is one of the contentious area where company secretary in practice and company secretary in employment always get confused, and it is confusing. Let me admit you, this is confusing. What is specifically applicable, law specifically applicable to the company? Whether it should be activity based, whether it should be industry based, whether it should be event based, whether it should be employee based, what? Lot of confusion is there. And after a lot of deliberation, discussion, and years and years of experience, we are able to conclude that it should be industry specific. Industry specific law. If I am a banking industry, if I am an insurance industry, if I am a pharmaceutical industry, then what is applicable to me because I am into this particular industry, not because it is applicable all across the board to all the industry. I'll give you a very small example. If you are employing the labor and you need to pay the minimum wages, or maybe PF, ESI and all other requirements, gratuity requirement, all these things will be there. So any industry they will be applying, employing these kind of, people, then definitely they will have to comply. So this is not specifically, this is generally applicable law to those companies or those industries. If you take another example, Factories Act, whether I am into, say, manufacturing of auto parts, auto components, or I am manufacturing in the, say, pharmaceutical product or anything, regardless of the industry, if I have the manufacturing process and I am falling into the definition of the factory, then Factories Act is become applicable. So that means it is generally applicable to me. Why specifically applicable and generally applicable is required to be differentiated? Because of the simple reason, MR3 format says that specifically applicable law, you have to do the thorough verification. Just like Companies Act, you are required to report on that also. But as far as generally applicable law, here Institute is saying, and in fact MR3 format is also saying, that examining and reporting whether adequate system and process are in place to monitor and ensure compliance. What does it mean? It is that you are not required to go into the nitty-gritty and each and every compliance. You just verify the system and processes that are in place to monitor and ensure compliance. It can be what is the adequate system and process and what is the compliance mechanism. That can be a matter of further debate, and we will discuss that also. But I can say that adequate system and process to monitor and ensure compliance is a broader perspective which we need to analyze. Company secretaries or company secretary in employment particularly says that what is the need of, say, visiting a particular premises, or what is the need of going so deep into this particular area? What is the need of, say, verifying, say, for example, I have done the virtual board meeting, hybrid board meeting. And in that particular board meeting, recording has been done. And I am asking as a company secretary or secretarial auditor to produce me the recording. Company secretary in employment or management may say that what is the need of it? I am giving you the minutes, I am giving you the register, I am giving you the agenda. On the basis of that, you can do. But whether BC rules has been complied properly or not, I need to see. Similar example is that you are saying that all the factory licenses, all the say labor related registration, and all the documents I will produce to you and verify and report. But whether that particular thing is there in the ground or not at that particular location, at least once in a year or maybe twice, once in 2 years, at least I will go and see, just to ensure whether system and process of compliance is adequate or not. If it is inadequate, I will definitely comment. But on the basis of paper, I cannot verify. Only on the basis of paper, I cannot verify. So it's a matter of great debate that what should be done, whether we should go to the factory and plant location. Let me tell you, Pawan, it's very, very important to go there, because you may find that every company is doing excellent compliance of company law, excellent compliance of FEMA and regulation. But when you go onto the ground of other laws, situation is very bad. Situation is very bad, and other laws are not such that it is not important to the company. Some of the laws has the provision to have the say issuance of the show cause notice, and on the second show cause notice, direct FIR can be lodged, factory license can be cancelled, say labor cannot be employed. So this kind of issues may be there. So that has to be considered. And why, if secretarial auditor is there, why not take the help of the secretarial auditor to improve the system and process of compliance in regard to the other laws also. So this is the scope, and in the bigger classes, I generally go deep into that, how to verify and what to verify, which document you will be asking. But I think in the webinar we cannot go deep that how to conduct the secretarial auditor for respective transaction. But I have given the brief view in regard to issue of capital, that how you will track the entire system and processes, and thereafter how you will track down the various documents and compliances required, and you can verify. You can cross verify with the ROC record also. MCA inspection can be done. So this way you can do. So I think here I'll be stopping on the scope part. If you have any question on the scope part or any further question till now, then that I will take, and then I'll go next on the board process and system and process of compliance.
Yes, sir. Sir, as regard the scope, there are various questions, but you have taken most of them, and few questions cannot be taken on the webinar mode basically. So I'm not asking.
But anyways, if some questions can be taken up, just let me know. We'll take up some questions.
I'll go through that, sir. Just give me a moment. No, sir, not exactly on the scope, but on the various other things which I will ask you
Yes.
when we are there.
Okay.
Sir, you gave in detail the scope of the audit, secretarial audit. This scope we decide after accepting the engagement as a secretarial auditor. And once this scope is finalized, we might be discussing it with the internal management, board of directors, managing director, or company secretary in employment, including CFOs and CEOs. And then we actually plan the audit. As you advised that we should do every quarterly, if not monthly. so that everything is looked into. Anything if is to be corrected by the internal management of the company, they can take the appropriate actions within time. So, how to plan and what are the stages you would say? I would say, what are the stages goes into planning of the audit? If you can throw light on that.
Okay. So, directly on the planning part. Okay. As far as planning is concerned, again, I will take you through the 3 slides. Yeah. Audit process and documentation. And in fact, let me yeah. Is it visible now? Audit process and documentation?
It is visible, sir.
Yeah. So CSAS 2 is basically talking about audit process and documentation, and in that only audit planning, processes, system, audit evidence, audit, everything is there. If I'll take you through plan to conduct audit as per the audit engagement, this is the pure line. And audit engagement is one document which will define your scope, first of all. So if you have agreed to the scope, and I am telling you, there are different companies, different scope may be there. I'll give you the say personal experience of mine. Some of the companies comes and they say that we want all the laws to be audited. All laws. Fine. I am ready to do because I have the checklist, I have the capability, I have the team. I will do. No issues at all. So that is one. Second point, some companies comes that they said only mandatory and specifically applicable law. General laws, we will just be giving you the, say, our internal control and you comment on that. That is second. Third one is, and within these two parts, some of the companies are very aggressive. They say, आपको तो सारे plants और सारे factories और सारे locations पे जाना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. कुछ, some of the companies may come and say, no, I think you do the sample verification. I will let you know which factory has the problem. You go there, do the audit and come back. Some of the transactions, they will say that this is the, say, do the sample verification. I'll tell you one thing, that as in regard to generally applicable law, it may be discretion of the company to decide whether they want to get all the plants audited, all the location audited, or they want to have the sample verification to the satisfaction of the auditor. Auditor should be satisfied that adequate system and process is there. That is fine. But as far as audit evidences are concerned, as far as, say, going deep and auditing technique, which audit technique I will be using, whether I will be going for the sample verification, whether I will be going for the detailed verification, that is the discretion of the auditor. That discretion will always remain with the auditor, and it is you who will be deciding that whether you want to go for the sample, whether you want to go for the detail and all. So audit technique and principle I will discuss in the subsequent part of my presentation. Here opening line says audit planning means establishing and developing an overall audit process, including but not limited to. That means it is giving you the enough scope to plan your own way, plan your own thing. But if you go A to G, and in fact, next slide also, you will find everything. First is identification of the broad audit area. Which area you are, say, broad audit area? That means I have told you in the beginning, corporate actions. If you will be able to identify the corporate actions, you will be able to coming to know that these are my audit areas. Like I will go for the insider trading, I will go for the takeover code, I will be going in great detail for say Companies Act, or maybe some related party transaction, loan, investment, guarantee, security, all these things. These are my broad audit area. And in fact, broad audit area has to be decided by the auditor considering the gravity of the transaction, like related party transaction. It is very, very important thing to have the say in your list that it will be verified. Similarly, say borrowings, investments. Similarly, say this insider trading, takeover, acquisition, or issue of capital, because penalty is more than up to 2 crore rupees. Deposits, penalties up to 1 crore rupees. So all these areas should be broader area of your audit, so that company should not be at fault and end up paying so much of penalty at the end. Second point is seeking previous audit finding and observation from the management and predecessor or previous auditor. This is another beginning point that I know that last year audit might have been done. So I am not saying MR3 तो आपको board report में मिल जाएगा and it will be part of the MCA filing also. I am not saying that. We generally prepare one observation and comments and recommendation report for the management internally before finalization of the draft audit report. That particular audit finding, it may be settled. It may be, say, auditor might have agreed at the end that it is not material, not required to be reported. So reported item is something different. Non-reported item, something different. It may be possible that some of the item might not have been reported because of the materiality, but same item, if it is repeated this year, it becomes material because you are repeating the same thing time and again. So one non-compliance because it's being insignificant, not reported last year, dropped because of the materiality, but this year also again you are doing, then it becomes material and we need to see that. So previous audit finding you must ask. Third one is determination of subject matter and audit area requiring special attention. Company says that we have done this particular transaction, but we are not very sure that whether we have 100% compliant or not. Or you yourself say feels that this is the particular area which might be having some problem, interpretation related, like SBO or some IPO new say company has came up with the IPO just now, and it is maybe having some of the issues in regard to SEBI regulations. So all those special area attentions has to be identified. Risk assessment and materiality. What is material to be reported? What is not material to be reported? That is the discretion of auditor has to be there. Auditing technique. Which technique you will use for the different transactions? And let me tell you, for different transaction, different technique may be there. And why it is important that if some transaction is repetitive in nature, many time repetition has been done for the similar transaction or same transaction, then you may go for the simple verification. That is auditing technique allowed. But if some transaction is one transaction and is very, say, voluminous and all other things are there, then you may be going for the detailed and deep verification of that. Then all allocation of the audit resources for the audit. Competent team has to be there, and skill and competence has to be identified, and then only allocation should be done. Labor law experts should be sent to the plant. FEMA expert should be commenting on the FDI ODI. Company law expert. So it may be possible that one person is expert and say master of all, no issues. But if it is not, then we may go for the outsourcing also. But of course, principal agent relationship will be there if we are outsourcing. Ultimately, we are responsible. And then preparation of the audit schedule, that when you will be, how much time you will be taking, when you will be visiting the company, when you will be submitting going for the discussion, when you will be submitting the draft audit report, when you will be taking the management representation letter, and when finally you will be submitting the audit report. So these audit schedule has to be prepared. Then gathering the sufficient information about the auditing, prepare your audit checklist. Audit checklist is one thing which is very, very important, because without checklist, if you are going to do the audit, you will be missing out something or other, and it is for sure, it is certain. Collection and verification of the audit evidence. How to collect the audit evidence? What is audit evidence? I have two different slides I will discuss. Third party confirmation whenever required. This is another important aspect, that cannot be confirmed by the management. It cannot be done through the verification of your record and document. Then you have to go for the third party confirmation. So wherever required, as a auditing principle and process, we may go for the third party confirmation also. Analysis of the audit evidence, analyzing it, whether evidence is sufficient, material, enough, or primary source of evidence or secondary source of evidence, whatever it may be. Documentation of the audit evidence and finding, and record keeping and retention of the audit document. So this is what the entire process in regard to the audit. In this breath only, I will take up the audit evidence also, and thereafter we will go for the another set of question answers, or you may have the question answers, so we can take the questions and thereafter we may go further.
Sir, few questions are there.
Yes.
That during the deciding the scope of the audit, if the management is not agreeing or not sharing the details of which laws they are applicable to them, and let's say even though they are saying, and you are identifying few laws and they are saying no, these are not applicable to us, so how to deal with such situation while finalizing the scope? I think after you ask the question, whether we have any questions on the scope, these questions came. So thank you to the delegates for timely questions.
See, here I have say two different aspects. One aspect is that there is a difference of opinion between auditor and company. Auditor is saying that this is applicable to you, and management is saying not applicable to you. Not applicable to me. That is one aspect. Second aspect is that it is applicable to me, but not in your scope at all. This is not part of the Secretarial Audit. So there may be two situations. There may be third situation also, but let's discuss the two situations. If you are very sure as an auditor that this is applicable, and this is somewhere or other forming part of your MR3 reporting, then you will have to find the place where, because my simple principle and simple funda is, and in fact I will say that fundamental of the whole audit reporting is that each and every line you should read in the audit report or MR3, and in that particular audit report, you must try to convince yourself that none of the lines or none of the words are, say, different or incorrect. It should not be incorrect. None of the words. Like you are giving a blanket statement as company has complied the provisions of the following, or you are giving in the last paragraph, second last paragraph in the scope, and saying that company has adequate system and process of compliance. This word adequate is not, say, foolproof. It is not foolproof. It is not saying that company has 100% compliance. They're saying adequate. Very intentionally and purposefully, this word has been used, adequate. That means it reasonable amount of compliance and processes are there in the company. But if you will find that there are many non-compliances and there is a flaw in the system itself, some very junior officer is handling the compliances. There is no proper compliance team. There is no proper system and process of reporting the compliances and non-compliances. Then definitely you cannot say that it is an adequate system and process. So coming back to the point and coming back to the question, that if you are satisfied in entire MR3 that your report is not going to be wrong because of that particular agreement or disagreement, then you can go ahead as it is. But at any point of time you feel that no, this particular non-compliance or applicability has to be reported in my MR3, then difference of opinion, you have to say that you either comply or you give me in writing. Last resort could be with the auditor that you give me in writing that this particular law is not applicable to you. The moment you will ask in writing, it will be very difficult for the company to give in writing. Very difficult if it is applicable. Then they will ask for your own opinion, that you give the opinion that whether it is applicable to us or not. Or they will be asking for some third party opinion, whether it is applicable to us or not. So my call will be in this, that your MR3 reporting should not be wrong. It should not be incorrect. It should not be false in material particular. And false in material particular, if I am using the word, it is 447, 448. 448 word uses the word false in material particular. So it should not be false in material particular.
Correct, sir.
That is what the point is.
Correct, sir. Correct, sir. Sir, on scope, you have covered already that whether we can rely on the third party confirmations or the opinions of the other professionals, that whether it is applicable or not. You have given the answer.
No, I think I will deliberate much on this. This is a very important point. Whosoever has raised the question is a very good question. Point here is that third party, there may be two kind of opinions. One is confirmation given by the company. Second one is confirmation given by the third party, which is company's third party. And third one is my agent. I have involved somebody because I am not expert of something. So there may be different situation. If I am engaging somebody, then principal agent relation, that third party confirmation is for my convenience only, nothing else. So that third party is my third party. That is me, not no one else. So outsourcing, my answer is that you outsource it for your own convenience, and it is for you only and your convenience. You are responsible. Second one is that statutory auditor certificate, internal auditor certificate. They are also third party and they are giving the confirmation that this is the compliance. You can rely upon that. Institute says that always, that you can always rely upon the other professional in regard to the laws where independent and separate audits are being prescribed. That is second. Third one is agencies and authorities involved by the company, like RTA, like registrar and transfer agent doing the transfers for the company. Then they are third party or agency to the company. We can go and do the audit and get the confirmation and comfort letter from them that this particular part has been done. Bankers of the company. Whenever we collect the audit evidences in regard to receipt of the share application money in the account of the company before, say, issuance of the capital, before allotment of the capital, then we must be sure that a bank account has been credited. So bank is the third party. If he is giving the certificate, so that is the third party confirmation or bank statement certified or non-certified, whatever, by the bank, then it is third party confirmation, which is there. So I would say that third party confirmation is important. And I think I would say fourth one is also there. Management representation. Management themselves is confirming. So management representation is the another topic which I will discuss later. So now next question. You are on mute.
Sorry. My bad. Sir, during the discussion, you presented one slide wherein it was written about the risk areas.
Mm-hmm.
The pointer was risk areas and risk assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So, sir, how the risk assessment is required to be done, or means in first place, is the risk assessment required to be done for the audits by secretarial auditor? If yes, then how the high risk areas or activities, I would say, should be evaluated by the auditor, because we have seen many a times that high risk areas are required and we need to address it, because every professional work has the risk associated with some or other disclosure or missings due to the misinformation or the lack of clarity. So what is your take on that, sir?
See, I have already given a little bit of the view on this, that audit areas is requiring special attention. Those are the risk areas, and chances of non-compliance are very high. One such transaction is related party transaction. Very, very high. Companies are always thinking that it is arm's length or ordinary course of business and will get rid of it. But most of the cases it did not. So that is one. Second one is SDD or insider trading. Again, high risk area, possibility of non-compliance. So you need to analyze as a secretarial auditor, possibility of non-compliance, degree is high, then definitely that is a risk area. CSAS 2, para 2.2 is also talking about the risk area. And it's saying that auditor shall evaluate high risk areas. High risk area, I have already told you that these are like issuance of capital. If you are doing any non-compliance of section 42 or 62, 2 crore rupees penalty. And nowadays you go for the adjudication of compounding, what kind of penalties may be levied, you can see. So that is one. Similarly, deposits. It is some places it is compliance related 1 crore penalty. Some places it is criminal also. So we need to be very careful. So it says evaluate the high risk area, activity relating to the auditee by review of the following aspects. 3 aspects they are giving, and in fact there may be many, but these are very important. One is internal control system and process of auditee for adherence of the constitutional document. Very important. Articles and memorandum. These 2 documents are constitutional document of the company. And I'll give you a very small example. Companies Act says that you appoint 1 scrutinizer for the meeting, general meeting. But articles, old article, if you refer, they will say 2 scrutinizer. How many you will appoint? You need to appoint 2, because article, unless otherwise provided in the article. It is one. Some point of time, professionals argue that article cannot override that. It is not overriding. It is putting some additional condition. Very, very funny example. I am giving you another. Duplicate share certificate. There is a provision in the article that for every duplicate share certificate will charge 50 paisa. Right? The company was charging 5 rupees, 10 rupees. Can you charge? Answer is no. So, internal control system and processes of the auditee company in regard to the adherence of the constitutional document, one, applicable laws, act, rule, regulation, and standards. So this is talking about constitutional document and legal provisions. Uska kya system and process hai. Second is transparency, prudence, and probity. Whether at every stage they are transparent or not, that is also required to be taken care of. Third one is another most important, and this will set the tone whether they are serious about the compliance or not. Changes or attrition in the compliance team and frequency of such changes and attrition. हर 6 महीने में कंपनी सेक्रेटरी रिजाइन करके चला जाता है, या हर 2 साल भर में नया कंपनी सेक्रेटरी आ जाता है, सिर्फ एक ही बंदे का डिपार्टमेंट है. All these kind of things may lead to, say, non-adequate system and process of compliance. Non-adequate system and process of compliance. So this way, this is completely your judgment, which kind of industry is there. I'll give you another example. Secretarial auditor of Paytm. Small non-compliance. And it be, say, judged by the secretarial auditor. Very difficult. It is, company might be giving the certificate that we are compliant with the KYC requirement and all other requirements. One person is opening one account only. But when it came to the RBI radar, an entire business of the company, one particular segment of the business of the company has been wiped out. One compliance issue. This was also a compliance issue. So for NBFC and this kind of RBI regulated companies or insurance company or say banking companies, specifically applicable laws are very important and area which requires attention. It's very risk areas.
High risk area.
High risk area.
Correct, sir. Correct, sir. So that is very much required, and also special attention needs to be given for its compliance and checking also. Sir, it takes me to another area, I would say, of the secretarial audit, because as a practicing company secretary, we have to follow certain principles, many techniques, and also adhere to the procedure. So I would love to know your thoughts on number 1, auditing principles, number 2, auditing techniques, and number 3, the procedure. Procedure you can take later on also, but auditing principles and auditing techniques, these two things are very much required, because many times what happens, if it is new assignments or many a times the first time doers, the people who are taking the secretarial assignments for the first time, they might lack just in the audit techniques or the let's say the principles. So kindly guide on this aspect, because our newcomers to the fraternity would really need this guidance from your side.
Yes. Visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. If I talk about the auditing technique, there are many techniques. How you will verify the transaction, what you will be doing. One of the, I'll just one slide, I will briefly touch upon this. One is examination of the various documents, compliance requirement, and process and system of compliance. So examination is one technique that you go and take the document and examine it whether it is properly compliant as per the provisions of the law or not. That is one. But once examination is failing, in the document you are not able to judge something, then comes the next inquiry. You may ask the question or you may ask the written questions seeking clarification from the company that this is the process you have followed, according to me, this should be the process. You please clarify why you have followed this process, because we may have the difference of opinion in regard to the facts. You may have the different fact, I may have the different fact. I am just looking. So it may be possible that you may be falling into some of the exempted category or whatever in regard to the compliances. So inquiry will reveal the many things, why particular thing has been complied, why particular thing has not been complied, and why particular thing has been left out altogether. So that is second technique, inquiry. That means one-to-one discussion with the company or person who is responsible for the compliance. Third one is confirmation. This is nothing but the management representation or third-party confirmation, which I have discussed already in detail. That and in fact, management representation, one particular line is very important that I will discuss later. Fourth, sampling. I have already discussed the sample. What is sample verification? There are thousands of transactions, and repetition is every 100 transaction is having the same repetition, and company is following the similar process for doing those compliances. Possibility of non-compliance is very, very low in regard to those repetitive transactions. Then you can pick the sample and verify the compliance. What will be the sample size? From where you will be taking the sample? Whether you will be taking the first transaction or you will be starting from the last transaction, will be taking 100th transaction or 50th transaction, that is discretion of the auditor. What will be the sample size out of 1000 transaction, whether you will be taking 100 or you will be only taking 10 and you will be satisfied, that is again discretion of the auditor. So that is sample verification. Compliance test. This is the fifth technique. Here there are compliance structure and system in the company, maybe compliance tool also, and I'll take you the example here of the compliance tool only. Company has the compliance tool. They are doing all the compliances through the software. And in that software, they're saying that we are doing it software. There is no possibility of any non-compliance. And compliance software is providing me 100% report. My question is that whether that particular compliance software itself is updated or not. Say, SEBI has issued some circular on February, and company has included it in the month of April. So, and if some compliance was required to be done on 31st March, that particular compliance tool is not going to report. So if that is not going to report, that means compliance system is itself flawed. So checking that particular compliance system and process is compliance test. Fourth one is substantive checking. You have the audit evidence, you have examination, inquiry, confirmation, you have collated and collected all the data. And cross verification you are doing. Cross verification doing, that is basically substantively you are involved into the particular transaction and doing everything. Dependence on other expert. Like I have told you that statutory auditors are doing the financial transaction and you are certifying the related party transaction. If some report is there in regard to, say, arm's length transaction and transfer pricing reporting is there, you can rely upon that expert and you can say that yes, RPT is on arm's length and ordinary course of business. But of course, analysis has to be done by you. Last one is analytical review. Analytical review, if you talk about, it is nothing but the document vis-a-vis provisions of the law and doing the analysis whether 100% compliance is there or not. So these are the audit techniques one need to follow in regard to conduct of the audit. Now moving to the audit principles. One of the aspect which we have already discussed is planning. Your audit must be planned. Second one is audit team should be very, very perfect and they should be properly briefed. Pawan Chandak want to get the audit done and he is sending his team, but he is not telling the expectation. What is the expectation from the team? what is my area of attention, what is my special areas, what is my main audit areas, where I'll be having the special attention. All these things has to be communicated to the team. Then only team will be able to perform better. On which audit evidence is required to be collected. So all these things has to be communicated. Skilled and competence of the audit team must be one of the auditing principle. You should ensure confidentiality. No need to discuss the confidentiality, but it is one of the auditing principle. Impartial. Conflict of interest we have discussed in great detail. Maker, checker and all. No need to discuss further. Integrity and independence. Independence also we have discussed that auditor has to be independent and his integrity should not be questioned. Then comes the audit evidence. Principle says that you must create the audit evidence wherever required. And last one is consistency. You should be consistent in your audit. So this is what the audit principles and techniques. I'll go on the small processes we have already discussed, but I will go into the stages of audit also later on. But one important aspect I want to discuss here is audit evidence. And this is very important and essential for all the auditors, that how to collect the audit evidence and what is audit evidence first. First block says that information for arriving at the conclusion for forming an opinion. Any and every information for arriving at the conclusion for forming an opinion. Audit report is your expression of opinion. And whatever opinion you are giving in the audit report, you are saying that company has complied the Companies Act. Company has complied the SEBI regulation. Company has issued the capital and done this particular non-compliance. What kind of audit evidence you are having for this? Whatever is the matter of fact and record, that should not be called for as an audit evidence, because you cannot collect the entire year's whole data of the company. So next question comes that how to select and how to say what kind of evidences may be there. So nature of audit evidence may be original document, maybe minutes, maybe register, maybe electronic data, maybe management representation by way of confirmation. Another principle you need to apply but is sufficiency versus appropriateness. Quality of evidence and quantity of evidence. कितना लोगे, सैंपल लोगे, 100 लेके आ जाओगे डॉक्यूमेंट, पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट उठाओगे कि एक डॉक्यूमेंट भी सफिशिएंट. What factors you should keep in mind while collecting the audit evidence is degree of risk. If degree of risk is very high, like issue of capital, 2 crore penalty, and one provision is there, you cannot allot the shares unless there is a share application money credited to the bank account. You must ask the bank statement. So degree of risk is high. Internal control system, control environment in the company, materiality, 100 रुपए की पेनल्टी लगी, रिपोर्ट करोगे क्या? Of course एनुअल सेक्रेटरियल कंप्लायंस रिपोर्ट में करोगे, बट सेक्रेटरियल ऑडिटर में मटेरियलिटी का कंसेप्ट आप लगाओगे. नेचर एंड एक्सटेंट ऑफ एरर. Nature of error is very, very minor. Like some of the minutes are not signed or maybe not numbered. It may be say very small thing. You need to think whether it is material to report or not. Reporting the implication of inability to obtain evidence. Some point of time, company may not be able to provide any evidence. What you will do? You will write in the MR3 that we are not able to comment on this particular transaction. You cannot say that not complied. If you are sure that that it is a non-compliance, then you can write non-compliance. But you are also divided 50-50. अगर ये डॉक्यूमेंट मिल जाता तो मैं लिख देता कि कंप्लायंस है, ये डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं मिलता तो नहीं बोला कि कंप्लाई किया है, बट in absence of this particular document, I will not be able to conclude this particular. You can write that way also. So repeating the implication of inability to obtain the evidence कि मेरे को ये रिकॉर्ड नहीं मिला. Source can be internal, can be external, can be third party, can be written representation. Process is always like inspection first, then observation, then inquiry, then confirmation, then audit evidence. So this is what the audit evidence is. I will take you through the audit stages. Any question you have till now?
No, sir. Sir, whether it is expected, let's say, if any manufacturing entity or engineering entity and have 3, 4 different plants, correct? And there might be some accident or incidents which has happened, which has repercussions on the liability of the board of directors, because generally the managing director is an occupier under the Factories Act. So many a times those 164 disqualification might be triggered if there is a loss of human life. And that won't be communicated to you as a secretarial auditor by the company, because it will vacate managing director's post. So whether the internet be used to search according to the locations of the those units or the name of the company, because many a times what happens, those news gets covered somewhere in some newspaper or somewhere it is reported, and the moment we search on the let's say Google or any search engines, we come to know about those non-compliances. You were talking on the earlier slide about the sources, internal, external, and
yes.
So that is why
that is what I was about to refer in the, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 block sources.
Yes, sir.
Internal, external, party written. So those are internal evidences.
Correct.
In fact, whether all the documents have been filed by the company or not, we go as a company secretary, we prefer to go and visit the MCA site. Cross verification karte na wahan pe.
Correct.
Company Act ka cross verification we go and do in the MCA site, then why we will not do in this? So internet verification or Google search can be done, and it should be done rather to report. But what I will say, that can be done, but once in a year, at least. If company agrees for all the plants, fine. If don't agree, you insist upon visiting one plant to see what is the system and process of doing the compliance of other laws. You cannot judge everything from the papers provided by you. Papers may be saying that there are, say, 6 toilets, 3 for male and 3 for female. But if you'll visit, there are 6 toilets, but none of them are functioning. Or maybe two of them are functioning. Paper may say that there is a doctor and nurse in the factory premises and first aid facility is there. But if you will visit, you may find that nothing is there. There may be many compliances, POSH compliances, labor law compliances, all those compliances. So at least one factory, I must advise all the secretarial auditor to insist upon the management that at least one plant I will visit, and visit in must. And wherever there is a packaging and say this weights and measurement or package commodity regulations are involved, where occupier may go to jail also if say non-compliances and second show cause notice is being issued. In those cases also, I think once at least you should go and see the process that how they are doing this particular compliance. Yes, Pawan.
Yes, sir. Many times what happens again is the management representation letter or the declaration is given on various things which we know that might be a problem in certification. So how much relevance or the reliance be given, or based on those declarations, whether we should certify the secretarial audit? Because I have seen many people and also various complaints which we received, that it was possible for the verification and re-verification, but just by taking the management representation letter to professional certify the secretarial audit. So
I must say that management representation letter concept is one of the concept which is misrepresentation and misinterpreted like anything from both the sides. I will not say that company is responsible. Even practicing company secretaries are responsible for their comfort. What they feel that यार लिखवा के ले लेते हैं. That is not the correct way of doing it. When you need to take the management representation, that you need to decide, and it is not even required to decide. It is very clear that when you are required to take the management representation. And I'll share the slide. One slide I have prepared for this also. And opening lines I need to read out, and I'm reading. The fact or facts or compliances which can't be verified by the document may form part of the management representation. Means anything and everything which you can verify through the documents or inquiry or using all the auditing techniques.
Correct.
Maybe say examination, maybe inquiry, maybe confirmation, all these things. Then you should not be asking for the management representation.
Correct.
Simple. I am coming again and again on the related party transaction. Whether related party transaction is arm's length or ordinary course of business, will it be written in the management representation letter, or will it be to the satisfaction of the auditor that I have verified the transaction and I found it that it is arm's length or ordinary course of business or not?
Many times people rely on the director's report, and
90% of the time people rely that company ने लिख के दे दिया arm's length ordinary course of business, it is arm's length ordinary. No, you are a competent professional. You need to judge, you need to verify from the documentary evidences that this is arm's length and ordinary course of business. Now coming on where you cannot verify, like number of transfer or transmission. 500 आए थे, 1000 ट्रांसफर होने के लिए आए थे, 200 आए थे. We don't know. We can verify which has been produced to us. कि हाँ इतने डॉक्यूमेंट आए, इतने ट्रांसफर का कंप्लायंस हुआ. But if company is holding it with themselves and not doing the transfer, non-compliance of the law, public inspection of the books. Books are open for inspection during this book closure or whatever. So you cannot conclude that whether at that point of time it was open or not. Recording of resolution by circulation. How many resolution you have passed during the year? I don't know. You need to confirm. And you need to confirm and say that this many resolution has been recorded and it is forming part of the minutes. Otherwise, आपने एक उठा के बैंक को रेजोल्यूशन दे रखा और वहां पे नया बैंक अकाउंट खुला है और उससे आपने सीसी लिमिट ले रखी है और जिसका कि रिफ्लेक्शन बैलेंस शीट में नहीं आ रहा है. What I do? As a auditor, I am helpless. So recording of resolution by circulation. How many show cause notices has been received by the company and its management, KMPs? Entry in the register, whether timely or backdated. मुझे नहीं पता चलेगा ना कि टाइमली किया या backdated किया. All information documents has been provided. Whatever was there, whatever corporate action, सब हमने provide किया. तो एक general statement आना चाहिए कि हाँ, we have provided all the documents and information for the audit. How many investor complaint has been received by the company, whether all has been resolved or not. Engagement of child and bonded labor in the factory. So there are many n number of examples may be there which you cannot verify visiting the place or seeing the documents. There you need to take the management representation letter, otherwise no. Whatever you can verify yourself, you should not be taken.
Understood, sir. Understood. So you may continue your presentation, sir, where we shifted on this slide.
Okay. So I think only process part I will be covering, stages, and then a little bit of the drafting part, and then we may conclude. We are left with only 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
So I will take you through the audit stages: appointment and acceptance of the audit, then communication to the previous incumbent, then finalization of the audit plan and broad framework, basically planning part, which we have discussed, finalization of audit team and team briefing, preliminary discussion, meeting and survey of the auditing company, examination and verification of the records, then do the apply the auditing techniques like test check, inquiry, confirmation, substantive checking, analysis of the information. Then you create your audit evidence, then take management representation, then forward your audit summary to the client, then discussion on the observation of the auditor, submission of the draft audit report, then confirmation on the audit qualification, and then finally submission of the final secretarial audit report. So these are the stages which you should follow. And if you will follow this stage, nothing is skipped. So this is what the point is. One important aspect I want to discuss is auditing process to be followed by the auditing company also. Process to be followed by auditing company. In the beginning of my presentation, I have said that it is not the secretarial auditor responsibility to do the compliances. Compliance is required to be done by the company and more particular by the compliance officer of the company. And board is responsible for ensuring this. If I am saying this, that means secretarial auditor is equal responsibility of the management. They need to get it done. Secretarial auditor is only coming and verifying or giving the report. So it is important and necessary for the auditing company also to have certain processes and system in the company so that they should be able to do the proper thing. So they need to bifurcate the department-wise compliance responsibility. If it is there in the company, fine. If it is not, then they need to analyze and set up the system and process of compliance in the company. First part is name of the department should be identified, and every department should be, at least if it is already there, then you should be aware that how you are going to say from whom you are going to get this particular information in regard to compliance. So I have listed out like human resource can be labor laws, then factory manager or in charge can be in charge of the industrial and labor law. Finance department can look after the tax and funding related compliances. Legal can be contract, arbitration, negotiation, negotiable instrument. Secretarial department, company law, SEBI law, secretarial standard, board processes. Sales and marketing different department may vary from the company to company. Packaging, forwarding, maybe legal, metrology, transport related compliances. Information technology, cyber law, product license, data privacy. Accounts department, accounting policies and accounting standards. Admin department, safety law and electricity law. So this way you can have fixed responsibility. Now coming on to the next part, you fix the responsibility. Now you need to ensure that everybody is doing the compliances. So you need to do two things. One, you communicate the tracker, compliance tracker to everyone. एक compliance checklist बना के आप सबको दे दो. ये compliance checklist है, ये timeline है और इस दिन आपको करना है. So compliance tracker, it may be say Google based, it may be software based, it may be physical also, whatever it may be. So that is one. Second one is communication channel from that particular department to you. And lastly, they should be reporting in a specified format. Agar format de doge bana ke, it will be easy for you. Your life will be very easy if they are reporting in a prescribed format, so that you should be packaging it, making it an action and reporting to the board finally. So this kind of some compliance structure should be there. Then how to report the non-compliances and take it to the knowledge of the board. That is the fourth part. Take it to the board. Then discuss the remedial measure if required. बोर्ड विल गिव यू द डिसीजन दैट दिस इज द रेमेडियल मेजर वी नीड टू टेक इन. कंपाउंडिंग में जाएंगे, एजुकेशन में जाएंगे, कंप्लायंस करेंगे, डिफॉल्ट मेड गुड करेंगे, पेनल्टी पे करेंगे, वॉट एवर इट मे बी, दैट विल कम. एंड देन फाइनली how to take the remedial measure, whether you yourself will be taking on that particular respective department will be taking. So that is one. Second part is what process auditing company should follow for the compliances. I think I'll take 2 more minutes and then we'll conclude. Identification and appointment. You decide the scope, frequency, timeline, resource person, and confidentiality at the time of appointment only. Identification. Pre-audit preparation. You make the document checklist or take it from the secretarial auditor. Take requisition all the required document and information from other departments responsible for compliance. You update your record, get it validated, then audit. Prepare a record room proper, do the administrative arrangement, submit the response record to the company, do the response to the inquiry, and then documentation and audit evidence, giving the audit evidence. Then post audit discussion and closure. Closure of the inquiry, taking the issues to the other department, final report, and then finally taking it to the board and taking the corrective measures. So this is in regard to auditing company. And this is very important. And in fact, I will highlight one particular point. Qualification or qualified report, non-qualified report. It is always a nightmare for the practicing company secretary and even for the company secretary in employment, that whether it should report or not. And company secretary in employment is always on a point that it should not be reported to the board. I point to all my dear friends who are doing this. I'm not saying that everybody is like that, but most of the people are doing that. My point here is that don't do it. It is not in your good also. Today you are compliance officer of the company. Today you are in helm of the affair. Today you are, say, in the capacity to take the remedial measure if required. But what about tomorrow? 3 years down the line, you are out of the company and some inspection happened in the company, and even a small secretarial standard related compliances or numbering of the minutes, if it is highlighted, then show cause notice will be issued to the company and also to you as a officer in default, and also to the then managing director, and also to all the directors. At that point of time, you will be getting 2 stigma. One is, उस समय के कंपनी सेक्रेटरी ने हमारे को कुछ नहीं बताया. Number 2 is, you will be facing and handling that show cause notice individually. No company will be there to support you. So it is always better, जब भी कोई बीमारी होती है तो उसका क्योर करना चाहिए. You should not be keeping it. It is always better to take it to the board, be transparent. And normal dialogue होता है कि बोर्ड के पास चला जाएगा तो मेरी नौकरी चली जाएगी, दूसरी मिल जाएगी, उसमें क्या. But point here is that it should be communicated to the board. We should always be going for the remedial measure. Then only, say, this particular audit will be strengthened. This particular audit will be able to create the value, able to strengthen the corporate governance processes in the company. There are many things which are required in regard to, say, drafting part. I'll take only 2 minutes on this and thereafter I will conclude. Reading the draft MR3 is also very important. And in fact, if you read the MR3, I always go in the CLDP and MSOP session and teach the students that what is the relevance of each and every word. First para itself is giving the enough scope for the secretarial auditor to go deep into each and everything. It is saying, we have conducted the secretarial audit of the compliance of applicable statutory provision and adherence to the good corporate practices. This is such a vast line, such a big line. Good corporate practices. That means you are not supposed to only report the compliance or non-compliance. Even practices you are required to verify. By the so-and-so, the secretarial audit was conducted in a manner that provided a reasonable basis of evaluating the corporate conduct and statutory compliances. Corporate conduct is another important word. You need to verify the conduct also. Then comes complied the proper board process and compliance mechanism. Company has the proper. That means board को conduct करने का क्या process होता है, whether it is according to SS1 or not, you can always. Here comes the SS1, proper board process. From where you will be getting whether this process is proper or not? Of course, from the SS1. SS1 is nothing but the board process, proper board process, excellent board process, best practices. So that you can find here. कंप्लायंस मैकेनिज्म, कंपनी का कंप्लायंस मैकेनिज्म क्या है वो भी आपको यहाँ पे सर्टिफाई करना है. नेक्स्ट पार्ट, दीज 5 लॉज आई हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड. देन एंड द क्वालिफिकेशन पार्ट, यहाँ पे कंक्लूड होता है कि ड्यूरिंग द पीरियड अंडर रिव्यू कंपनी हैज कंप्लाइड विद द प्रोविजंस ऑफ एक्ट, रूल्स, रेगुलेशन, गाइडलाइंस मेंशन्ड अबव, सब्जेक्ट टू फॉलोइंग ऑब्जर्वेशन. ईच and every observation should be very specific, pointed on the non-compliance. Like, it should not be a general and vague statement that company has not complied the provisions of the Companies Act or Takeover Code. It should be very specific that this particular part has not been complied. So that, and it should be in the bold and italic. Qualification should be always in the bold and italic. Then comes composition of the board. Fourth part, system exists for seeking and obtaining further information and clarification. Then how decision is taken. Decision are unanimous or majority view, and whether dissenting views are recorded or not. So these are the 3 paragraphs. Then adequate system and process, we have discussed enough on that. Then lastly, that any major corporate event or action having the bearing on affairs of the company, so that borrowing limit or plant has been sold off, or there is a fire in the factory, or some factory has been locked down and all. So this has to be given. So this is what the secretarial audit all about. This is what I wanted to share. If you have further questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we can conclude.
Sir, actually, there are many questions, but
one or two we can take. Otherwise,
I'll take a few more questions which I have basically, sir. So, you have shown the sample secretarial audit report. For the benefit of all the delegates, I would ask you to take the, let's say, how to form the opinion or how to reach to the conclusions on what is to be reported during your audit in the MR3 format.
Yeah, see, this is not a very simple question, and it will vary on the case to case. See, it is the process. Like, process is, you have identified the critical areas or areas requiring special attention. So on those particular areas, if there is a non-compliance, then that has to be reported, because that is material. You have, in the beginning, you have decided that this is material for me. So those which has been decided as material, I apply simple formula. Whether this particular non-compliance is leading to the severe penalties, whether you can divide into 3 parts. First part is simple prosecution. This particular non-compliance may lead to the prosecution. Second is compoundable. Third is adjudication. Fourth one is curable versus non-curable. Some non-compliances might be there, which can be rectified. If that can be rectified, and if it is not involving for the, say, backdated entry into some permanent document, then you can allow as a secretarial auditor, and you are not supposed to report. Interim report you have given and highlighted to the management, this is the problem. If they are able to rectify. And in fact, I will give you another aspect. Let me conclude this and then I'll go to that aspect. So this way, critical areas which are very important, should be reported. Second, compoundable must be reported. Where penalty and adjudication proceeding can be initiated must be reported. 3. Fourth, the things which can be rectified, taken care by the company, then it should not be reported. Materiality is one concept which you need to decide that what is material, what is not material. Like company has filed some forms belatedly. Only one form was delayed. Whether you will report? To my opinion, no. It's not that material. End of the day, they have done the compliance. But if company has filed all the forms belatedly, then it becomes material and you need to report it. So depending upon the situation, depending upon the facts, you are required to form as an opinion as an auditor that has what is required to be reported. Like SEBI regulation, annual secretarial compliance report I have sent. SEBI has imposed a penalty, and in annual secretarial compliance report, you are supposed to give it. Then you are required to give. SEBI has issued show cause notice in regard to insider trading, and it has been concluded an inquiry proceeding has been initiated, but this is missing in your report. That is serious lapse. That has to be reported. So any inquiry proceeding, any say major penalty which has been imposed, like Competition Commission of India imposing say penalty of 500 crore on some company, that has to be reported. It's a penalty, but it's still a huge amount. Like some of the insurance companies has got the show cause notice on GST. That is a major point that has to be reported. Though it is not relating to Companies Act, it is relating to GST. But last paragraphs, it has to be there. You may give the observation. You may give the, see, there are 4 things: adverse remarks, reservation, observation, qualification. You may qualify, you may give adverse remarks, you may give observation. So whatever you feel appropriate according to situation, that you need to.
Great. Sir, more than 15,000 delegates are attending this. For their benefit, I would request, I know we are overshooting the time, I would request to please take 2 more questions.
Yes, please.
Ranit sir, what in case of the fraud, if it is detected, correct? Many times we come across the fraud, and how to report that, what is the, I would say, the point or the authority to which it should be reported if any fraud is observed by you during your audit?
See, fraud reporting is basically reporting to the central government by the auditor. 143 is applicable mutatis mutandis to the secretarial auditor, and it is directly required to be reported to the central government. Fraud against the company. Not fraud by the company. Fraud against the company. That is required to be reported. But at the same time, it is not prohibited anywhere that you should report it to the company as well. Bring it to the knowledge of the company. And frauds can be different kind of. And one particular part I always bring into a notice of everyone is that, say, giving huge amount of money to the subsidiary company, like ILFS case. Related party transaction like ICICI Bank case, quid pro quo, or maybe conflict of interest involving some of the vendor companies. So these kind of things may be there, and it is nothing, not only non-compliance, it is fraud against the company. That has to be reported to the center.
Okay, sir. Sir, many times we close the audit and we forgot to prepare a working file of the audit. So what is your opinion or the advice to all the delegates who are attending about for how much time it should be maintained, and any process for maintaining the, let's say, audit documentations?
See, audit documentation is required to be maintained, and audit evidence is also required to be created. And in fact, in the audit evidence opening line, I have said that anything or any information which is required for forming your opinion as an auditor is audit evidence. So whatever opinion you are giving the compliance certificate, you are giving the non-compliance certificate. You are reporting compliance or non-compliance, whatever. Either you will be reporting compliance or non-compliance. For both the things, you have to have some evidences on critical transaction or transaction having the special attention. So that is one. On the second part of the question, how many years? CSAS 2 is talking about 8 years. So audit trail, audit evidences, audit documents, your noting, and draft audit report and final audit report should be maintained for 8 years. And after 8 years, you can destroy.
8 years from the date of signing.
Date of signing of auditor report.
Correct. Sir, I cannot thank you enough. But before I formally thank you, I'll ask one more question, sir. Sir, please give some recent judgments on conduct of secretarial audit by might be Supreme Court or any other courts.
See, as of now, I don't have the say as such. In fact, I have not researched on that particular judgment. But yes, secretarial audit report or secretarial standard, both the document has been quoted on say various NCLT proceeding definitely. And in NCLT proceedings, reliance has been taken on this particular part that secretarial auditor has qualified, and therefore whatever secretarial auditor is saying is should be taken as an evidence. So that part is there. In fact, secretarial standard has also been quoted many a times by the NCLT. So my point is that I have not found anything which has been, say, secretarial audit report has been disputed to that level. But of course, there may be some judgments, but I only know in regard to the NCLT proceeding, nothing else.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I must thank on behalf of.
Thank you so much for everyone, all the participants for coming and participating in big number. I will request you can share the questions to ICSI, and ICSI may revert in times to come, or maybe some FAQ can be prepared and sent to all the participants.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, sir. We will definitely come out with FAQs on various questions which were asked today, and a few questions were relating to code of conduct also. So I'll request President sir and Vice President sir also about taking one session on professional guidance for the code of conduct and various other things. Sir, I am really thankful to you for sparing your time, giving your knowledge, sharing all the inputs, I would say. And this question answer thing as suggested by you has gone really well, because going through the presentation, listening to the ideas, and this mode of communication today, which we had in the form of webinar question answers, you covered everything in great detail. You shared everything which you could, and I'm sure all the people who had attended today's webinar must have been enriched greatly with the interaction which we had today, and all the things right from audit processes, techniques, fraud and scope, right from engagement till opinion forming. So all the aspects you covered very beautifully, sir. So I'm really thankful to you for accepting our invitation and sparing your valuable time for the cause of ICSI and its members. And I hope that I would be blessed again to host you for the next session whenever possible for you. And definitely at ICSI, we are proud that this session really went well. And I request all the delegates to please participate in all the sessions of EEE. It is basically for the people to brush up their knowledge, to have new insights from the last sessions till date. Every year we have this EEE series. This is the 4.0. This is the fourth season, I would say, because this season is the word which is going making the buzzword. So please participate. This is for you only. These all these webinars are free of cost, and all the recordings are available on ICSI's YouTube channel. If you want to rehear anything, re-refer anything, you can go on the YouTube channel of ICSI and take benefit of the things which were discussed in all the EEs. With this, sir, Ranjit Pandey, sir, I really thank you for all the knowledge.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.